And we're live. This is Homeopathy Nook for Thursday, November 16th, 2023. Sorry about the poor lighting here, but as long as you can hear my voice, I think we're okay. We're going to talk about Koppikar's 70 years of clinical experience and his experience specifically in treating conditions, especially some acute conditions as well as chronic conditions actually, based upon causation, with yet another fascinating example. In January of 1941, this is 4 years before the Second World War ended, so this is from days of yore. A boy was discharged from the General Hospital as a hopeless case of hydrocephalus. The worst thing that troubled the patient and the doctors was his terrible headache. Hydrocephalus is swelling of the head. The boy used to shriek and used to be almost unconscious during the attacks. Can you imagine what he would have been treated with in today's world? He would have been treated with anti-inflammatories, with steroids, with draining his brain fluids and doing all sorts of things that it turns out are simply not necessary. He would shriek. He used to be almost unconscious during the attacks. That's how painful it was. The face would be congested with redness. The carotids throbbing, and the pain was described as intensely hammering and shooting. Anodynes and sedatives were of no avail. Lumbar puncture had already been done and only increased his troubles. The boy was in the hands of expert allopaths. Actually, he was in the house of expert allopaths. And it was with great hesitation and misgivings that they allowed me even to see him. To get over his habit of aspirin and other drugs, which he was demanding, I gave a few powders of belladonna 6. He had pain. He couldn't bear it, so he was demanding painkillers. And they did relieve slightly. Now the question was how the trouble had started. Koppikar is an investigator and a sleuth, and back in 1941, he did what any reasonable homeopath would, looked for causation. The boy had a fairly big head as a child. So what he sleuthed was, he always had a big head, but he never had any trouble on that account. 3 months previously, one day, he came home from school complaining of a pain in his forehead, where he had hurt himself by knocking against the handlebar of a bicycle. So he knocked himself very badly against a bicycle handle. The pain had ultimately resulted in these severe attacks of headache, and the headache started as of that time. As a child, he had been a typical calcarea carbonica patient. So patients that sweat a lot, they're kind of chubby, their teeth their dentition is delayed frequently, they sweat a lot, sour smells. So he was a typical Cal Carb patient. So my idea was that it was an Arnica condition superimposed on a calcarea constitution. Therefore, Arnica was given in the 1 million, 1 dose. He got 1 dose of Arnica 1M. He had severe aggravation for 4 hours, and after that, the headache never appeared. 1 dose of Arnica 1M, severe aggravation for 4 hours, the headache completely disappeared. Later on, for some digestive trouble, I had to give him Cal Carb. And to this day, he remains well. And this book was written a lot later. He remains well to this day. And that is causation, prescribing for causation, and the magic that can happen if you treat a person for what actually started their ailment. And I wish you a great day. We will meet at Homeopathy Nook another day. Meantime, I'll leave you with the thought of causation and prescribing for causation.